it's like, I know what to do with my sons, you know? I mean, it's projection. Okay, it's projection, but I'm just like, it's all chest bumps and you smell, go shower, you're disgusting. Ew, pick that up, wash that off. It's that, it's that. And like with my, they don't talk about their feelings with me, How are you, son? I'm good. But like with my daughter, if you ask her how she is, it's like you drop an anvil in her lap and she, like, I don't know, like she's a hot mess. So it's really interesting because how I am relative to her, there's this heavy tension between us. I'm just like, and I'm hard on her. On purpose. Like, it's not accidental. Like, she's not going to grow up and introduce me to the fact. You were hard on me when we were growing up. And I'm like, what? I can't believe you feel that way. Absolutely not. I'm going to be like, that's true. That is true. I was hard on you. That is true. Okay? And I think part of that, and I make no excuses. I don't need to. But for me, so much about what drives the intensity of my interaction with my daughter is about the fact that I need her to survive this place. And so there's a lot of, clenched fisted, logic that I'm trying to give her. I'm trying to impart all of this warrior wisdom into her, you know what I mean? So that she can survive this place, I just feel like, sadly, because of the state of things and because of how dysfunctional we are, because there's a thing called rape culture. I need her to be able to soldier through and be intact at the other end. So I'm hard on her. So I thought about that one day because she's angsty and sometimes I can catch glimpses of how it weighs on her. And I wrote this poem sitting in the kitchen after midnight, feeling incredibly sorrowful about the fact that for all intents and purposes, I'm not going to stop doing it the way that I'm doing it. But I can see the moments when it costs her something, but my hope is that the deficit is not greater than the return kind of a thing. But I had all this aha clarity about my grandmother posthumously. And I sort of started even thinking about, like, how will my epitaph read to my daughter? And this is the poem that came from that. Yeah, the preamble is a lot longer than the poem. I'm sorry. I try not to do that. It happens sometimes. When we are old women and our bones have puddled softly down and the body is a different agony, and we are fat with grandchildren, thickly knuckled hands adorned with occasional shudder, and we are alarmingly timeless with love, we will remember that we were wild once, and full of blood and spunk, glutted with our own big ideas, unconsecrated women who could not bother to care about silence. The world is always big with heaven, big with hell, and triumph, and paralysis, and waiting. And we knew then how to flood our womanness with strut and sun, and we loved and dreamed and glared at the men who were diseased with ego and war, and we wrote things and made things and built things and burned self-doubt to ash, lusty and thick with our own becoming. The death urge of declaring our right to the world on even the days when we forgot to eat, forgot to be still, forgot to hug the children as we raced our womanness against daylight and fought the lions and whatever forces brought blizzards against us and cut off the ritual of suffering to defy what devils came. Yeah, we were wild once. Colossal, imperturbable, loose women, hurling ourselves into strangers' beds, hazarding on the objections they made when we left, when we stayed. There is no preamble to being a woman except a war cry. Some ancestral howling rumble that met the dark in our mother's womb and whispered, fight, live, break open the heat of morning with a defiant heart, give poetry to the chaos of being born. And we did those things. And we kept our sudden radiance, even when we didn't. And we conquered the hearts of old lovers who fell so easily to the shine in our bones, and climbed each new bridge and each unfriendly place, and watched the world spread out underneath us, and we were large and sometimes weary and towering always. This is what we'll tell the children when they ask why we were so busy, so full, so divorced of convenience. This is what we will say. We'll talk about how impossible we were, how there's never been another in history that pulled it off with as much dexterity, and we might say feminism. We will say necessary and urgent. We will say it was the only choice we could make to stay alive. We will say most days it was hard to be alive, and we will say, forgive me. And we will say, I forgive. We will say, the preamble to womanness is a war cry. We heard it before we had our own names. We will say, daughter, this is all I have to give you. Let it be an eruption, this war cry, the unabridged story of my life.